While sitting in class, a boy suddenly started seeing strange visions. Toinhachits. His body trembled uncontrollably, drawing everyone's attention. He couldn't understand why he was seeing through someone else's eyes. Then the person in the vision crashed into a tree, and the boy immediately lost consciousness. At the same time, far away at a snowy ski resort, a girl also slammed into a tree and passed out. The two were complete strangers, living in entirely different worlds, but this unexpected accident created a mysterious connection between them. Years later, both Jack and Lucy had grown up. One night while Lucy was chatting with friends, she was suddenly knocked to the ground by an invisible force. The party instantly fell silent. When Lucy looked up in fear, she thought she saw a furious man standing in front of her, ready to hit her. The vision vanished as quickly as it came, leaving her with a pounding headache. She couldn't tell if it was real or just her imagination. What Lucy didn't know was that everything she saw had actually happened to Jack on the other side of the world. The next day, Jack was driving when he reached for the radio. Suddenly the connection happened again. The dashboard disappeared, replaced by racks of women's clothing. For a moment he felt like he was standing inside a store. At the same time, Lucy found herself seeing through Jack's eyes. Both of them were completely stunned. Then an oncoming car startled Lucy, snapping her back to reality. This time, they didn't just see each other's worlds, they could hear each other's voices too. Hearing a stranger speaking in his head, Jack quickly pulled over. Neither of them knew what was happening. All they knew was that someone else's voice was suddenly in their ears. Lucy was terrified and curled up in a corner trying to calm down. Meanwhile, Jack could hear her breathing. That was when he realized this wasn't a hallucination. It was real. Even though they lived over 1,000 kilometers apart, with one experiencing winter and the other living through summer, they could hear each other, see each other's surroundings, and even feel each other's presence. Jack could even sense the cold air around Lucy. Before they could process any of it, the police arrived to check on Lucy. She quickly claimed she was fine and blamed everything on low blood sugar. After finding a quiet place, the two continued talking. Since both still had things to do, they agreed to reconnect later and figure out what was happening. But if this strange connection ever disappeared, they were still glad they had met. That night, after dinner with her husband, Lucy locked herself in her room. Once again their senses connected. Everything that had happened felt impossible, yet fascinating. They introduced themselves and began sharing details about their lives. To test the connection, Lucy asked if someone had hit him the night before. Jack was shocked. The answer was yes. That's when they realized their connection wasn't new at all. Jack remembered the strange vision he experienced as a child. Without thinking, Lucy touched the back of her head. She sheepishly admitted that she had crashed into a tree that day. Only then did they realize their bond had existed for years. As they talked more, they discovered they had both spent their lives feeling as if someone unseen had always been there. The connection brought them closer. Lucy opened up about her marriage. Jack learned that her husband didn't truly love her. He treated her more like an accessory, taking her to business events to show off a perfect family image. Jack's life wasn't any better. After taking the blame for a friend's crime, he became a parolee. Finding a normal job was nearly impossible. Eventually he isolated himself and worked at a small repair shop washing cars, all while dealing with constant police check-ins. Both of them were trapped, one by love, the other by loyalty. But as they opened up to each other, they wanted more than just a voice. They wanted to see each other. Excited, they both rushed to their rooms and used mirrors to finally reveal their faces. The moment they saw each other, they both froze. Jack couldn't believe how beautiful Lucy was, and Lucy thought Jack was incredibly handsome. With Jack by her side, Lucy became more confident. If her car broke down, Jack could guide her through fixing it. Day by day, they grew closer and more dependent on each other. Their lives slowly became brighter. To everyone else, they looked like two people talking to themselves. But to them, they were part of each other's lives, separated by distance, yet deeply connected. One night Jack sat alone in a bar. Lucy's voice still echoed in his mind. A brunette woman noticed him and smiled from across the room. Jack awkwardly waved back. That should have been the end of it. But the woman walked over to him. Thankfully, Lucy secretly helped him through the conversation. The date went surprisingly well, and they agreed to meet again at Jack's house. Unfortunately, the date happened on the same day as Lucy's social event. She worried Jack wouldn't handle it well alone. Jack insisted he didn't need her help. But when the day arrived, he became a nervous wreck. He barely had time to prepare. Being alone with a woman he barely knew made him incredibly awkward. Without Lucy guiding him, Jack had no idea what to say. Meanwhile, Lucy couldn't stop thinking about him. She secretly reopened the connection, only to discover that Jack's kitchen was on fire. Jack was frantically trying to put it out. Lucy immediately jumped in to help. Together they managed to stop the fire, but Lucy forgot she was still standing at a public event. To everyone around her, she looked completely insane, talking to herself and shouting instructions. Even though the fire was out, Jack didn't want Lucy interfering with his date anymore. Jack stood in front of the mirror, repeatedly slapping himself in the face, trying to block out the person who shared his senses. Unfortunately, his date walked in and saw everything. At that moment, she became convinced that Jack was completely insane, and left without a second thought. Jack ruined his date, and Lucy ruined her husband's party. Even though the night ended badly for both of them, their feelings only grew stronger. They would often find themselves dancing to the same music, completely lost in each other's presence. To everyone around them, however, their behavior seemed strange and unsettling. Jack's boss eventually assumed he had mental problems and fired him. Meanwhile, Lucy's husband began noticing changes in her. Even her friends started wondering if she was seeing someone else. That was when Lucy finally realized the truth. Her feelings for Jack had become something more, but she had a husband and a family. She couldn't allow things to continue, so she shut down the connection. And just like that, their lives were separated once again. But Jack couldn't bear losing Lucy. He traveled hundreds of miles to her city, only to stand outside her home for a long time. In the end, he couldn't bring himself to disturb her life. Maybe letting go was the right choice. What Jack didn't know was that after taking Lucy to a hospital, her husband convinced doctors that she was mentally ill. Lucy was diagnosed with a severe psychological disorder and committed to a psychiatric institution. There, she endured endless treatments and suffering. Day after day, she lay silently on her bed, slowly losing hope. Then during another treatment session, Lucy finally reached her limit. Using the last of her strength, she reopened the connection. The moment Jack saw what she was going through, he understood everything. The woman he loved was trapped in complete despair. Without hesitation, he emptied his savings and rushed to save her. Throughout the journey, he comforted her with gentle words. Little by little, Lucy found the strength to keep going. Jack tried to rent a car, but his parole record made it impossible. No matter how much he begged, the staff refused. With no other choice, he stole a car and sped toward Lucy. As he drove, he patiently taught her how to pick a lock with a fork. At the same time, he finally confessed his feelings. Lucy was deeply moved. She had already accepted her own feelings as well. Determined to escape, she unlocked the door and slipped out. She grabbed a patient's coat to disguise herself. But at the exit, she ran into her husband. At the same time, Jack found himself being chased by the police. Lucy gathered all her courage and ran. She managed to break free from her husband's control. Jack also escaped the officers pursuing him. Now they could only trust the bond between them. They ran through snow-covered forests, moving closer to each other with every step. Then they both heard the sound of a train in the distance. For the first time, they shared the same destination. Following the tracks, they sprinted forward without hesitation. But when Lucy finally reached the railway, there was no one there. Doubt began to consume her. Were they really living in different times? Then Jack's voice reached her once again. Before they could finally see each other, a train suddenly thundered between them, separating the two lovers. They decided to meet in the same train car. Both of them ran with everything they had, trying desperately to catch up. But years of treatment had left Lucy weak. She couldn't climb aboard. Then, at the critical moment, Jack appeared. He reached out, gently pulled Lucy onto the train, and at last they crossed the barrier of time and space. For the first time, they truly held each other in their arms. Perhaps the world would never understand them. The law would never understand them. Even they couldn't fully explain what had happened. But some feelings were never meant to be measured by logic.